Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. What is the time in your side? It's me, Fatma, this from Pakistan, Karachi, say your host, Eco Inspired Living Show. And I'm having an amazing guest with me and Michael. So I would like to say welcome, Michael, in my show.
Thank you.
So
It's great to be here.
fine. So I would like to love your story, Michael.
Yes, of resiliency, mine. Yes. So I got interested in resiliency a long time ago when, as a child, I got a concussion. That wasn't what made me resilient or interested, is what happened on the second day of the hospital. I was still fading in and out of consciousness with a headache that felt like 3 miles wide. And along came another young gentleman who also had a concussion from hitting the front of his head. I'd fallen off my bicycle. He'd fallen off his bicycle. Well, at 6, with a concussion and a headache that was huge, even my eyeballs ached, I was amazed that I wanted everybody to be really quiet. Could you whisper? And turn the lights off. And just everybody go away. Leave me alone. He, not right or wrong, just differently, he got agitated. He yelled and screamed and shouted, where was his mom? Where was his dad? Where was his grandma and Oma and Opa? And where's his favorite uncle and auntie? As a 6-year-old, it was amazing to me that two of us, having a very similar issue, responded very differently. So that got me interested in behavior at a very young age, because normally at that age, playing tag, doing spelling, music class, that's what interests kids. And it still did. But behavior, I was suddenly hooked. Wow. I mean, how do you have a headache and yell? Like, what does that mean? How do you do that? So fast forward, and I'm good now, but I've had a couple of chronic illness diagnoses. But I was blessed along the way to take Shaolin Kung Fu, and that changed everything, because that integrated with my faith, integrated with what I learned in science class, and that was about me learning how to be calmer, to be more focused, and to stay safer. And so that changed everything. And so I was truly blessed to have that happen, because as you can imagine, between the concussion and 2 illnesses, it was interesting and scary. And then eventually I had a cancer battle. I've had 2 cancer battles. This is my 4th chance at life due to 2 battles with cancer and a failed medical procedure. So resiliency for me has helped tremendously with my quality of experience, quality of life, and not always, but often changing the quality of the outcome. So as our world, our countries, our cities, our households go through a giant lockdown, or as I like to put it, we're all on a giant timeout. As we go through this giant timeout, how do we stay resilient? Well, I would ask you some basic questions. And the first one is, what's your sense of purpose? What's your purpose right now? As one lady said to me this morning, I found out that not having a perfectly clean house has nothing to do with how much time there is. I don't care. It's neat. It's reasonably clean. It's just not brand new, perfect clean. But that's a different belief system. That's appropriate. So what's your sense of purpose? It could be short term. Maybe you check in on all your elderly neighbors 2 or 3 times a week. I have a lady in this building, her and her husband phoned up and said, hey, who are all the seniors or people with mobility issues? And they'd personally gone out and bought care packages, sanitizer, toilet paper, and a few other things. And hand lotion. And they gave out packages as gifts to all the seniors and people with mobility issues in our building. That's a short term, but very focused sense of purpose. And as they said, they're both blessed to still be allowed to work as essential workers. So they said on our day off, instead of the usual have a nap, we did something more useful. So that's one of the things to look at. So that's why I love and believe in resiliency for life, is that if we have a sense of purpose and we know that resiliency is a choice, it's a belief system, it's a skill set, then we can have a better quality experience.
Great, amazing. It means that everybody should know the goal of their life, set
Yes.
and be aware about their strength,
Yes.
which I could understand your conversation. And one word you are using this, the mindset. What is the mindset?
Well, our mindset comes from our belief systems, our attitudes, and that starts at a very early age. And we all have three basic pieces to our mindset: things that are the truth about us, our skills, personality, our style, our faith, our beliefs, things that are confusing, and things that are fibs, lies, because somebody told us and we didn't know any better. So it's a time for quiet reflection these days. And in our belief systems or mindset, we can take a look at, so who said? So one of my relatives was very good at me to look at it, how I define myself. So how we define ourselves is based on our mindset, our belief systems, which we get raised by our family, our faith, our neighbors, our relatives, our teachers. So, for example, I had two opposing teachers in high school. One, if you believe them, Michael was rather smart and hardworking. The other teacher and I did not get along. I once pointed out that the brakes on his vehicle didn't work, which was dangerous, and he told me to mind my own business. So my respect for him went down a lot because
Mm-hmm.
you need brakes on a car. They should work. The taillights should tell people you're slowing down. Because if you're driving your family around in the car, it's just not you, it's other people. Well, my disrespect for him went up. I stayed polite, but so the first teacher that I got along with, Peter, well, I got the highest mark I've had in any subject in my life. I think I got an 89 or a 90%, which for me in school, given my spelling challenges, was a big deal. Whereas the other instructor, I lost respect. I lost interest. It's like, you shouldn't be telling me about anything in life when you don't even value your own family's life. So if I listened to the first one, I might almost have a bit of an ego issue that, you know how good I am? And if I'd
Yeah.
only believed the second one, I'd have been, oh, I'm barely adequate because I'm not worth being listened to. So our mindset comes about our beliefs and values and our faith and about what is true. Well, neither of those teachers were 100% right. I'm a little bit of both. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
perfect. So the second one I didn't like, but maybe if I'd applied myself a little more in his class and paid more attention, I'd have got a better grade. And the first one, maybe that's because we had a similar personality and I could make him laugh. So maybe that got me an extra 5%. Don't know. So our beliefs and value systems. I had someone who once said to my mother about me when I'm 5, my gosh, what's wrong with his face?
Mm-hmm.
What do you say
Yeah.
to a 5? Why do you say that to a 5-year-old? And as we drove home that night, my mother looked at me in the eye and said, now, that person is not a very nice person. They seem to take joy in being mean. So whatever she said to you was wrong, possibly even a lie. So you need to be
Right.
careful. You don't believe everything everybody tells you. So fortunately, my mother was paying close attention to what this former family relative was. They've since passed, and said what she said to you is not true. There's nothing wrong with your face, nothing wrong at all. But this person had been very derogatory. So if I'd have believed the relative, I might have been embarrassed that there's something wrong with me. I don't look very nice. And my mother never said, I was Brad Pitt handsome. She just said, there's nothing wrong. You've got a wonderful face and everything
Mm-hmm.
works well. You're very fortunate. So our mindset comes about our belief systems and our value systems. And as we go through life, people and situations tell us things. One situation or one thing away is they build us up and tell us the truth. Some of us then get things that confuse us, or we get things that are lies. So I'm very creative with words spoken, but ask me to write them down. Oh my goodness. I failed a year of high school because of spelling. So I used to
Mm-hmm.
joke with my family that if I had a tombstone when I was older and passed, uh, I put down endoplasmic reticulum was my nemesis, meaning endoplasmic reticulum. I couldn't spell it.
Right.
So I failed a major subject and got a 49. I lost 30 marks because of spelling and grammar in exams.
Mm.
And in the 70s, that's the way school was. And it was like, well, spelling doesn't have anything to do with knowing it. So mindset's a really important thing to develop and nurture. So I call myself a realistic optimist. Every situation has negatives and positives. It's up to us to realize, what are the risks? What are the issues? How are we being seen? And how do we use that? So on my desk here, because I have a meeting in a couple of weeks, I have one of my favorite books, Six Thinking Hats. And that helps me with my mindset because Mr. De Bono said let me get my hands in here right. I'm failing hands. 6 ways to think of every situation. And so I like it because we all have favorite ways to look at things. I always like to look at the emotional side of it. What's the financial side of it? What's the best possible outcome? What's the worst possible outcome? Well, he has a structure of 6 ways to look at every situation. So that if we're stuck in a rut and we only look at 1 or 2, this can get us to look at 6. And he's a genius in my books. One of the smartest men this world's ever seen because he's taken complex thinking and made it easier for all of us to do and see. So that's why I think it's very important to look at our mindsets every day, all the time, and do our own thinking. Just because somebody that you like, believe in, enjoy time with, or somebody on screen that you believe in says something, do your own homework, check it out. So
Fine.
that's a little bit about mindset from my vantage point.
Fine, great. And definitely you are saying right how much I'm getting you. I'm not 100% I'm agree, but mainly I am agree with you. So my next question is how we can make ourselves, our student, our young learner to become a open mind person. Okay, if you are, it's necessary, na, when
Right.
okay, you have the good understanding your
Yes.
situation, your
Well,
society.
to stay open minded doesn't mean you stop judging. You just don't express it because you have to judge whether a situation's safe or not. I can judge a neighborhood as beautiful, but I can also still judge it as, oh, perhaps I shouldn't walk through this neighborhood alone at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
I can still appreciate the people and the cultures and everything that's there, but I have to judge for my own safety. So judging, I go back to the 6 thinking hats again, is that every situation is worth looking at from 6 points of view. And that makes me think of it. The other thing I like to do personally is I'm blessed to live in the city of Toronto. And because of my resiliency work, I've been invited to work and speak and volunteer with groups, different types. So at one point, I was in a group of people that were what in Canada we call First Nations. So they were the people that have been here for tens of thousands of years, whereas I'm third generation Canadian. So I was one of only 3 WASPs, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, and everybody else in the room was First Nations. So it's quite interesting to be the minority in the room. So it's like, check my comfort levels. Yes, I'm physically safe. Yes, I'm emotionally safe. Nobody's here to attack me. I was invited as a guest, but it's still very interesting to be the only one of 3 people in the room that's got your heritage. So that stretches me out of my comfort zones. I went out of my way to be a job search career coach for a large group of only one race, and everybody in the room, with the exception of me and one other usually, everybody else had African descent heritage. So multi-faith in the room, but everybody had African descent. And so it was a really humbling time. And as the trust built and the trust built and the trust built, by the second year, we had skin jokes and they would start them. So Michael, you're the only person in the room in a meeting we can find in a hurry. So if I'd have said it before there was trust, it might have been rude, but they said it and it was a joke and it was fine. So growing out of my comfort zones by being gently to very uncomfortable, but knowing that I'm safe is a lifelong project. So somebody asked me, why do you work with that youth group? They're not like you. I said, I work with people, period. Race, color, creed, faith doesn't matter to me. I work with people. So I've worked with young groups of young Muslim gentlemen and ladies. I've worked with Jewish seniors who were all 88 and older. Some of them had been in the concentration camps, and I got to work with them for 2 afternoons. It was a very humbling time. And putting ourselves in points of discomfort, I think, are very important because it stretches our thinking. And if we're smart, it makes us pay attention to our beliefs and values. So growing up in north of Toronto, many years ago in Canada, in a small town of 800 people, I didn't see people of color and people of different faiths on a daily basis. I saw some on television, but they were usually way over somewhere else. And so on my street, different faiths meant different types of Christianity. There was this type and this type and this type and this type, but they were all Christians. So as a kid, that was my idea of faith diversity. So being open and to take a look at our beliefs and staying flexible, I think we should do it on purpose.
Fine, great. You are a very great speaker and author as well, and you are a great motivational person. And you are sharing your story, and you are also inviting the people to share their story and write down the story. It is an
Yes.
amazing exercise to find, to be aware about yourself, and it helps the people to find the right path and the mind, what is the trend of their mind and what they choose in as a career, and whatever this type of this question they will be get the answer by writing the story. So but it's, I think so, it's not easy task to write down our feeling on a paper for everyone. So
Yes.
it is my challenge. I am having this problem. Resiliency, it's my mind, yeah, my brain is work fast rather than my hand. I cannot. So I want the solution.
Some things to help us keep a diary or keep notes or to write our stories that help me is I just put down a title, not a perfect title. When you think of a famous music group in the 1960s, they did the song. They wrote a song, and I believe they called the song when they first wrote it "Scrambled Eggs" just because they needed a title. It had nothing to do with eggs, nothing to do with scrambled, but they gave it a title, and then they came back and changed the title. So start, just a couple of words. Now, depending on what type of technology you have, phone, I'm on a laptop right now. For business reasons, I got a new cam because I got some corporate clients and they want things to sound perfect. So depending on your technology and your software, one of my pieces of software allows me to do dictation. So I open up a Word document or notes and I start dictation. But I'd say before that, to write down our story, are we writing down a story that's a day long, a year long? How big is the story? So my cancer story and the story of my resiliency are two different things. The story of my resiliency starts at 6 with the concussion and goes right through to my 30s. And then my daughter's brain tumor, and she's healthy now, but at 7 years old. And because I taught her what I learned about resiliency, she actually fell asleep being medically tested, which really bamboozled them. First time in the hospital's history. Well, we taught her the following skills. Oh, let's see. We taught her the following skills, and it paid dividends for her. It gave her the chance to be relaxed, less anxious, more sense of control. But if I just wanted to talk about, I got robbed by a motorcycle gang as a teenager on the job. I want to talk about that. That's a 40-minute story in real world. So title, I got robbed. Issue, first day on the job, acting supervisor. Woohoo! I got a promotion, but I had to go through 90 days of probation. 5 staff, 2 young ladies in self-serve, 2 young gentlemen in the gas station. So what are the pieces? Who's involved? And so you don't have to do detail. First day, acting supervisor, my job title, gas station. We call them a 400 series highway. And in other words, back in the old days, there was 2 lanes, one direction, 2 lanes, another direction. Well, now there's like in some places, there's 8 lanes and 8 lanes, but 400 series highway, gas facility. Manager locked his door, drew his blinds, and hid under his desk. So I had no help. There's 14 motorcycle gang members. So what are the numbers? What are the feelings? And then I've learned to just talk in it and have the thing take notes. I can see my notes of what the key components were in order, and that helps me be factual. That helps me tell my story. So that's what works for me most of the time. Some of the time, just putting down a title is tough. That's the hardest part, is the getting started. So for people's stories, I have personally found that people's stories help me rise up. What could be easy for you could be difficult, scary, and make me anxious. And what could be easy for me could be difficult and anxious for you. So we can't judge each other, but your story of what you overcame, and here you are today, could be of big results for me, could really help me go, oh, there's another POV, point of view. How enlightening. I remember reading about a gentleman over 80 years old who went through some health difficulties, and now he was in his 90s, and it was like, wow. So at the time I was 27, so it's like, if he can do that in his 80s, I can do that in my 20s. I have no excuses here to not confront it. I'm going to fight cancer. Doesn't mean I'm going to win physically, but I can work on physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually winning, having a greater quality experience, and I did. So those are some of the things.
Fine, great, amazing. Yeah, story help us to be make us to be get progress or to remove our errors. We get a lots of lesson. It is very interesting. I always used to read the biographies of the successful people. It's amazing, but to write down. But you give the tips, so definitely it help us to write down. Everybody, I think, so okay, should write down, habitual to write down diary, at least not the book, but we should write down the diary, what is happening in a day, yesterday and today, tomorrow.
Yes, because there's
So
little things and there's big things, and 10 little ones can be just as difficult to overcome as one big one, because the little ones can just chip away at you. So when you defeat the little ones, it's still worthy of acknowledging for yourself.
actually, we are the very usually I observe I'm talking about my society. I'm living in Pakistan, so usually what I observe the people is the very no, they are always when they saw the good thing among the people. If he observing the children, the women, and the people is doing the good work, so they are not appreciate them. So they are very, they if they are even they got, they are happy to see that they are doing well, but they are not expressive and they are not motivating. So these things become make the people little bit demotivate.
Yes, so one of the things I think for the motivation and inspiration that we have to be careful is I advocate what I call putting ourselves on a news diet. It's important that we be informed for ourselves, for our health. It's important for our families that.
So Michael, I think so some technical issue. He is Michael. If you are listening, so please kindly again you click the link, then you will be connected. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yes. Yes. Welcome
I don't
back.
know what happened. So what I was saying was it's very important in this world of news and instant news and constant bombardment of news that we put ourselves on a media diet. So it's okay to stay informed. I think it's really important to stay informed. What's the latest research on, as we watch this during the time of the big COVID-19 virus, what's the latest research on taking safety seriously for ourselves, our family, our neighborhood, our coworkers? Pardon me, but not endlessly. So I like to watch some things in the morning, what happened elsewhere in the world in the last 8 to 12 hours since I've been offline, and then somewhere 2 hours or more before bedtime, because you need time for this to calm down, I watch another broadcast. What's new in the world? What's different? And maybe I see it all online. Maybe I see it through the TV, but I watch it. And I do what I can to make sure I'm watching factual broadcasts. There's a lot of people out there that say anything and do anything just to get attention. So I want to make sure I'm watching a trusted broadcaster. Nobody's perfect. I'm not expecting perfect. I'm just expecting truth. So there's certain broadcasters I don't trust. I'm not going to name them here, but we all know a couple of them in this world that'll say anything for ratings and has no validity scientifically or numerically when they talk, because they're all hype, they're all baloney, and they have a political agenda. So, news diets. No more than 2 hours a day. That's my recommendation. And if you can do it in 30 minutes a day, better still. At the other end of the scale, what do you do for joyfulness? What do you do for happiness? And one of the things I love to do for happiness is talk to people, share time,
Exactly.
share favorite stories. Recently, I wished somebody happy birthday doing this. I left them a video message. Once I checked that they had data. Oh, Michael, I have endless data because it's part of my job. Okay, so I found out their son was having a birthday, so I sent them a video message singing happy birthday to a little boy I've never met. Well, now I have a new friend.
Right.
His mother says to me every week, you know, he said, Mommy, you had a birthday, but I got the friend. So we're all shut in. So why shouldn't I send him a 1 minute message every couple of days where I say, so are you reading any books? What's the name of the computer game you play? Have you helped your mommy with dishes today? Anyways, do something for somebody else. Doesn't have to be expensive. Doesn't have to, we got to stay socially, physically distanced, but do something for somebody else unexpectedly.
Fine.
Put yourself on a diet and read. I'm a big believer in reading. I showed you the 6 action shoes. Well, he followed that up, or 6 thinking hats. He followed that up with 6 action shoes. That's also right here, because I've got a couple of youth I did work with, and that's going to be one of my thank you gifts for doing a great job. And they're like, oh, of course I like to buy my books used, because that way I can buy 2 books for the price of 1.
Fine. Great. I'm very glad. And I think so. There is some sound. So
Yes.
I just want to know how much the happiness and importance in our life, and how we can this separate to your transfer to other people who are surrounding us happiness.
Yes.
The people don't consider, they are usually I observe that people they don't have they are not thankful to the people, Almighty Allah. They always making the complaints, and they have a lots of excuses. We don't have this and falam falam, and they become in the sad mood, or and
Mm-hmm.
even they are not, I mean to say it, they have a lots of thing to make themselves happy, but
Not happy.
they don't know how to be.
Yes. Well, happiness, there's a lot of components to it. And part of it is you can't chase happiness. Short-term pleasure does not create long-term happiness. And I'm all a big believer on long-term happiness. So in different times, because we're all in shutdown, lockdown, I have 2 young neighbors. One's 2.5 and one's 4.5. So knock on their door and little treats for Easter, or in our case, Christmas, or back to school. And they're like, oh, didn't have to spend but a little tiny bit of money. But the fact is, you remembered them. And so I did some work in a public school in Rexdale, Ontario, which is a part of the city of Toronto. And the place is jammed packed with people from all over the world who have moved to Canada, to move to Toronto. And it was really interesting. I got brought there to work with the SKs, the senior kindergartens, junior kindergartens, so 4 years old to grade 5, so 10, 11-year-olds. And we did them one class at a time. And I was there to teach them energy, how to manage your energy, which is another interview we could do one day. And so we talked about 4 types of energy: loud, fast, quiet, slow. And as we said goodbye, I said, every family, every culture, every community has different ways to say goodbye, say hello. I said, when I was like 3 years old, my daddy taught me, look people in the eye, put your hand out, shake their hand. Well, that's only appropriate in my family and my community. You know that in other communities, that's not appropriate. So I said to the kids, how do you say hello with people your own age or with people much older than you? Because that's only one way to shake hands. And during COVID-19, we know we don't do that anymore. So it was most remarkable. And when it was all done, a whole bunch of kids wanted high fives. So, pretty simple. But then when it was done, there was 19 young ladies of a certain faith. And the one leader came up to me from 4 feet away, arms crossed, very respectful, but kind of sad. Mr. Ballard, we can't do high fives. I said, you're absolutely right. We'll do air high fives from 5 feet away. Is that acceptable? Oh, yes. So suddenly I had 12 young ladies doing high fives from 4 feet away. Because it's important to include each other. That's part of the being happy. Is how do we include ourselves and others? How do I put ourselves in social situations and gently lift up? When I go to my supermarket during this big shutdown, I know the staff have been working 12, 15-hour days, 7 days a week to keep food on the shelves as people stock up just in case. Well, I saw one of the workers who's normally this robust, healthy 25-year-old guy that's just, he gets things done. He hustles. And he was sort of lying down, putting big packages of flour on the bottom shelf, right to the very back, fill it up. And I said, you look exhausted. He said, I am. But it's important that people eat well. And that's what keeps me going, is I'm helping people eat well. And as I looked down the aisle for cooking goods supplies, there was skid loads of flour, bread flour, baking flour, general cooking flour, whole wheat, oatmeal, you name it, it was there in great big huge skid loads, hundreds of pounds. And on, I think it was his day 11 of 15 hours a day, he said, I used to think I was really strong, but I found out that I can't do 12 days in a row. The muscles are tired. So his purpose really helped him. So I talked earlier about the couple that phoned to find out how many seniors and people with mobility issues where we lived, and went out and made packages for self-care, hand lotion, wipes, toilet paper, and other treats. Well, that was a short 1 day, 2 day plan and sense of purpose and done. But that was also a real good feel good for the whole building that people were keeping an eye on, our seniors. So there's the short-term stuff. There's the intermediate stuff. For the duration of this, there's a few of us calling all our seniors. We only all call them once a week, but there's 4 of us. So they're getting at least 4 calls a week. Do you need anything at the store? Do you want a conversation? On a walk the other day, I saw one of the seniors. So next week, her and I are going to go out and have coffee. She's going to sit on a bench way over there. I'm going to sit on a bench way over there. I'll bring 2 mugs out of the cupboard, pour coffee, set it down. She'll sit. I'll be on the other one. We'll have coffee. And she's like, oh, Michael, that'd be so kind. And I said, yes, and unlike Starbucks, it doesn't cost any money. So our sense of purpose can really help us with our happiness, because we're fulfilling a need to be in touch. We're filling a need to be active in helping and supporting others. And I've always found what goes around comes around. And so it's been really sweet, because there's a whole lot of people in these buildings that are 60 and older, but there's a whole lot of people in this building under 40. So the under 40s now are talking to us middle-aged folks, making sure we're okay. So happiness is partly by design. I like to watch sunsets on purpose. And it's just awe-inspiring to me every time that we live on this planet and the sun rises, the sun sets, and it's so magnificent and so beyond humans, anything humans can do. And nature awes me, so that also makes me happy. Right now it's springtime here. The trees, the buds are coming out in blossom. For people that know me on social media, I've been posting pictures saying, spring's coming, because the early flowers are up. Daffodils, little tiny purple white flowers, which I don't know the name of, crocuses as well. It's just magnificent. So that makes me happy. Some of them have a fragrance, some don't, but the colors and the shading is gorgeous. So those are some of the things I do to be happy.
So, fine, that's great, amazing. So, as you know, currently we are having the challenge of the COVID-19, and badly it affect the economic of the world. People don't have lose their jobs, and they are facing a lot of the economical issue. So, what do you see when after the Khana virus, where we will be stand
Ah,
economically or like this? What will be world? I think so. Okay, rapidly change because of this.
yes, it's going to change a lot. We're going to have to remember first and foremost that everybody else carries a burden that we can't see. Excuse me. So it's easy to talk about, not always easy to practice. So somebody the other day was using words of rhetoric and inflammatory. So I politely asked them, where'd you get that point of view from? Did you talk to doctors, nurses? Who'd you get And I wasn't saying her point of view was wrong. I said, where'd you get it from? Oh, did I ever get attacked? Not by her, but one of her friends. She's allowed a point of view. Of course she's allowed a point of view. I was asking her where she got it from, because she's obviously scared, but she was using very inflammatory words. So as we go through this, I would ask people to, as we get through it, be careful of inflammatory rhetoric. It's not all going at the one extreme. It's not all going to be perfect the day after we're let out. And on the other hand, it's not all going to be the absolute worst ever the day it ends. It's going to be a process. It's going to be time. It's going to take commitment. It's going to take practice. We're going to have to start to ask for help from each other in new ways. We're going to need to help check on each other's physical safety, financial safety, emotional safety. And it's going to take time. And there will be a few of us that are not nice that are going to take advantage of. I got a text the other day, supposedly from my government of Canada. It wasn't. It was fake. But it was written up just like the government would write it up, and they were phishing. They were looking for my personal information to steal it from me. So we're going to have to be very aware and remind each other, don't be careful of scammers and spammers, because they're going to want to steal our information, and that would make our life worse. So I see us coming out of there, that some will be much kinder, and there'll be much good done with it, and that we will see, I believe, a change in social programs in some countries. Fingers crossed, I hope. I believe that a small percentage are going to be so pained that they're going to be nasty and negative. And it'll be up to us to put up boundaries to keep them safe and keep us safe. Just because somebody disagrees with me about my comments about somebody's point of view when I was being respectful, not judging and just asking where she got it from, my first reaction was just block him, he's a jerk. And then I went, he's in pain. So get him to just take a look. Where did I judge? Well, you asked your questions. Asking questions is not judging. Not the way I asked them. Where'd you get the point of view? Who did you get this insight from? Of course, it wasn't. She didn't go from anybody. It was just a knee-jerk reaction. But she was using some powerful language that, for those that have mental health issues, could definitely send them the wrong direction. So as we come out of this, I think there's going to be more kindness by many. There'll be a small percentage that'll be nasty. And I'm hoping for more goodness, more collaboration, more cooperation between people, families, countries, communities, because we need each other. I don't have all the answers, and I'm sure that you don't, but together we're much smarter. There's an old quote that I'm going to misquote from France, and it's something along the line of, when there's two people in the room, there's three brains. Because my point of view, your point of view, we build the points of view together, we do it well, we're even stronger. So that's what I hope comes out of this, that we get that extra brain in the room every time we're together, whether we're using technology or face to face. So that's what I hope comes out of this, is more goodness, more kindness, and more paying attention to how to lift each other up.
Exactly. Great. You are create the awareness about among the people about the resiliency,
Thank
and
you.
to be use technology smartly. It is also the resiliency of the many people. Uh, Nowadays, I'm learning how to use the StreamYard, and today, Alhamdulillah, it is going very, very smoothly, and there is no, I'm not facing any hurdle, and you are connecting me quickly, and we are going live. It's amazing.
Yes.
Because I'm not expert in this thing, but I'm learning and
You've done
I am
well.
doing.
Yes. Yes, it's been great.
So nowadays the technology and the internet, it's really become the blessing. The some people has the different opinion, but nowadays I talk about so many people, talking with so many people, so now they are appreciating the technology. If right in this condition, if we don't have the connection, net connection, if
Yes.
it is not working properly,
Yes.
so we are become the fed up to keep ourselves stay at home like this. And now it
Yes.
blessing. So what do you think, how we can use the technology to for the betterment of the society, and how we can the people educate, and why it is necessary, rather you are the educated or not, but we, it is the demand of nowadays we must be able to operate the technology.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I think one of the uses for technology that I found to be very helpful when there's a lot of distance is that for those of us that have access to audio and video technology and internet, is during this time of lockdown and house, stay in the house, use your technology to leave messages. So before we had internet, I had an uncle who was living a long way away. He's been very inspirational to me, very nurturing, very kind. I was blessed to have two loving parents, but my Uncle Jim, well, he had the courage in his late 30s when I failed a year of high school to come and pay me a visit, just me. Don't make the same mistakes I made. I made the following three mistakes. Don't do it. Stick to it. Do what it takes. Make it happen. So, who in your life has been a difference maker? And can you leave them an audio message, whether it's on the phone, inside a social media site, and let them know that when this happened and you did this for me, you helped change things. You improved me. So leave messages of gratitude and respect. That would, to me, be one of the biggest things you can do with technology now. Because, life can be fleeting. I was just reading in Canada that one of our best athletes at 25 years old suddenly had a brain bleed and died suddenly. 25. Well, I sure hope that the people in his life knew how much he loved them and they loved him. Because sometimes we get busy, we don't say it. We assume that people remember because we said it last year or we said it last month. Well, it's great to say it live, but as somebody I left a message for once said years ago, I listened to it like 40 times. I knew they were in pain. I knew they were lonely. I knew they felt abandoned. So I deliberately called them when they weren't home and left them a phone message. So I'm a big believer that technology can be a bridge. We can't be in everybody's living room having tea once a day, supporting each other, but we can meticulously go through the difference makers in our lives and let them know they've made a difference. So leave them a voicemail, leave them a video message. Don't wear your welcome out. Don't blather on. But I suggest 15 seconds, 90 seconds, and let them know it matters. And the same in our professional life. I've been blessed to have a guy called Nick when I was 19 and I worked in retail while I went to college. Nick was so professional and funny too, but that wasn't what mattered. He was professional in that he wanted me to be the best Michael I could be. Don't be a Nick, be a Michael, but be the best Michael. So I have said thank you to him 3 or 4 times. So let's see, I was 19, I'm over 60 now. You can tell that was 40 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, 20, 40, yeah, 40 years ago. My math just was slipped away. And so he's always like, oh, thank you for remembering. I said, oh, no. When I have to coach somebody, I always think, one of the things I think is, what would Nick say? What would Nick do? Because being on the receiving end at 19 from a guy with an honors degree, no, pardon me, a PhD in psychology, it could have been really intimidating. So use our technology to be a bridge. Leave voice messages, leave audio messages, send a picture with a couple of words, or a couple of sentences. I'd say that's the best thing you can do right now for your for personal and your family. Also, who do you know that's serving in healthcare or is a frontline worker? Send them a note of thanks. Those cleaners in the hospital these days, I just have a niece who just got a job as a cleaner. Face mask, guard, a giant rubber coat to stay safe. It's a lot of work. I did cleaning for 8 hours a day, but I got to do it in shorts and a t-shirt and rubber gloves. So use technology to be a bridge. Show gratitude, show love, show respect, age appropriate. And like my little buddy who's never got a voicemail before or a video message, his mother's like, Michael, he's like, Mommy, he talks to you on your on your phone for me. You never know how you'll help and lift somebody else up and what their tipping point could be. And you could tip them back in the right direction with one 30-second message. So that's what I want to leave you with.
Okay, amazing. And thank you so much, Michael. I'm very glad to having you as a guest in that Eco Inspired Living show. And you make me my day. It's amazing. And I don't have the word to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Fatima.
And it's amazing. And what I observe during your conversation, you are enjoying your each every moment. So it is the art, really art to enjoy the every moment of the life. It also show the gratitude to them. I always say to my student, I don't know, but I'm the preschool facilitator. I'm usually deal with the small kids. So I
I'm just
said
the
to,
oldest big kid you've ever met.
sorry.
I'm the oldest big kid you've ever met.
Okay. And so always I say to my student, you always keep happy yourself. It is the right way to say to show your thanks, that you are thankful to Almighty Allah or all the power of universe, that He gives us the life, He gives us the amazing people surrounding us. So like to enjoy your life and be happy
Yes.
yourself and others.
Yes. Yep.
So, but I'm not that much expressive like you, but I want to be that I express my feeling and joy and fun, um, and make people happy. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I think so. Okay, one program is not enough to be with Michael. I must have the series of the program with Michael.
Well, we can do another one. I've got a program for children and families that I would love to discuss. It's called Imagine Yourself. And it helps kids, families, parents, elders practice some calmness during times of adversity.
Exactly. So it's trying to be say all our viewers and the people who are watching us. Okay, thank you so much. You are watching our program, Eco Inspired Living Show. Inshallah, in future we will be continue this show and also introduce the amazing people with you. So give me your opinion and the comments. So I try to my level best to make this show amazing and interesting for everyone. So I'm just going, but Michael, you please kindly stay here. Don't leave the studio. I'm just going to end the broadcast.